Parasite, Gu, breeding long vitae path, starting from the love-enamored Gu. By Thousand Lakes True Person. Chapter 71, Trapped for a year, rent increases, prices skyrocket. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed swiftly. It had been almost a year since the ghost demon sect cultivators had besieged the city. The cultivators residing in Misty Cloud City still had no means of leaving, and the cultivators of the ghost demon sect showed no signs of backing down, relentlessly attacking the second stage of the city's defense daily, draining the formation's energy continuously. This had essentially turned into a habit for the cultivators of Misty Cloud City. Both parties seemed to be in a state of balance, with neither side able to do anything about the other. The cultivators remaining in the city were becoming increasingly restless, as no one knew when the war would end. Wu. At this moment, in his quiet room, Zhou Sui was sitting cross-legged on the floor, ending his day of cultivation. After a year of strenuous cultivation, his progress had made considerable strides, with 40% progress in Qi cultivation 7th layer. This was inevitable. After all, the later the stage, the slower the pace of cultivation, and it wasn't so easy to improve. Of course, his gains this year were not limited to his cultivation alone. More importantly, his understanding of pills had moved up a notch, his alchemist cultivation had reached 99% of the first grade superior, and he was just a step away from becoming a second stage pill master. The reason he couldn't become a second stage pill master was simply due to the lack of inherited knowledge from a second stage pill master. Apart from that, his 5 elements alchemy technique had also been elevated to a minor accomplishment stage, allowing his alchemy skill to make a stunning improvement, and the success rate of his alchemy increased significantly. The phantasma transformation skill had also been promoted from the proficiency level to the minor accomplishment stage. At this point, even a golden core cultivator wouldn't be able to see through his disguise or perceive his cultivation. He could now walk boldly in front of golden core cultivators without worrying about being recognized. Of course, after reaching the minor accomplishment stage, the speed of improvement diminished considerably, and the degree of difficulty had almost reached a deadlock status. Without the aid of the bookworm, even a gifted demonic path cultivator would take over 100 years to cultivate this technique to the minor accomplishment stage. One could say that his rate of progress was quite astonishing. "Sir, I fear Misty Cloud City is going to increase the rent." At this time, Ji Binjiahu spoke to Zhou Sui, who had just stepped out of the quiet room. "Increase the rent? What do you mean?" Zhou Sui narrowed his eyes. Because the current rent in Misty Cloud City was already quite exorbitant, requiring 2 middle-grade spirit stones per month, equivalent to 200 lower-grade spirit stones, hardly any cultivator could afford it. Even though there were ample spirit stones in Yunwu mountain range, leading to a not particularly high price. However, this was essentially the limit any cultivator could afford. If they were to increase the rent further, these cultivators might revolt. Apparently it's due to a shortage of spirit stones in Misty Cloud City. Muzii explained, after all, maintaining a second stage defensive formation requires a lot of spirit stones as energy. Under the relentless assault of ghost demon sect cultivators over the past year, the reserve spirit stones of Misty Cloud City are rapidly depleting. If there aren't enough spirit stones, then the defensive formation of Misty Cloud City naturally can't be maintained. To maintain the operation of this defense, the Immortal Mist sect has decided to increase the rent for the cultivators residing within the city. Every cultivator residing within the city must pay a significant rent to continue living in Misty Cloud City. Otherwise, they must leave Misty Cloud City. She gave a brief explanation of why Misty Cloud City needed to increase the rent. They were simply forced by circumstance. If there weren't enough spirit stones, the protective formation of Misty Cloud City would collapse sooner or later, which wouldn't end well for anyone. If they're going to increase the rent, how many spirit stones are we talking about? Zhou Sui asked. It's rumored to be at least double the rent, that is, 4 middle-grade spirit stones per month. Xia Jinjian provided a figure. 4 middle-grade spirit stones? That's fine. Hearing this, Zhou Sui breathed a sigh of relief. As for him, 4 middle-grade spirit stones were not an issue or a heavy burden at the moment. After all, he currently had 5,000 middle-grade spirit stones. If things could be sorted out by spending some spirit stones, then none of this would be a big deal. Even if he had to pay rent for 4 or 5 years, he could afford it. Indeed, it's not much for us, but it's not the same for other cultivators. Ji Binjiahu shook her head. Nowadays, it's not as simple as just a rent increase, the prices of runes, magic artifacts, spiritual medicine, pills, and so on have all risen tremendously, more than doubling from before. What's even shocking is the cost of spirit rice and spirit meat. Compared to a year ago, the price has tripled at least, and even with money, one might not be able to purchase them. Now, Misty Cloud City is facing a serious shortage of rice and meat. Some neighboring cultivators have reportedly been hungry for 3 days and nights and have started to gnaw on wood. They're asking people for food everywhere, but no one pays any attention. She demonstrates that the cost of living within Misty Cloud City was beginning to skyrocket, with prices changing every day. If Misty Cloud City wasn't blocked by the ghost demon sect, there would be food everywhere. After all, just outside the city were the Yunwu Mountains, home to countless beasts. One beast alone could provide hundreds to thousands of pounds of meat. Previously, the meat of these beasts had little value and was priced low. As for spirit rice, a large number of farming fields had been opened on the outskirts, leading to abundant harvests every year. This resulted in the cultivators in Misty Cloud City having no sense of crisis, with the price of food always stable. There had essentially been a sense of grain hurting the farmers. They never thought there would come a day when they'd face food and meat shortages. So Misty Cloud City's food reserves had never been high. Just a year into the siege, and Misty Cloud City was beginning to face large-scale food shortages. Rumors have it that the cultivators from Immortal Mist sect in Misty Cloud City have started to reduce food supplies. Shops on the streets are no longer selling grains and meat, but rather limiting the daily supply, Xiaojinjian said gravely. To maintain order and prevent hungry cultivators from causing chaos, Misty Cloud City had started restricting the sale of food, limiting purchases per person daily. This temporary stabilization of the food market was a necessary measure. Even cultivators were humans, and they too experienced hunger. Even Foundation establishment cultivators and Golden Core cultivators would feel hunger and need to eat. Sir, lucky for us we made preparations in advance and hoarded a large amount of supplies. Otherwise, we might be going hungry now. Muzii said gratefully. She never thought that she would have to worry about food one day. As a cultivator, the idea of starving to death was laughable, but it could become a reality in a besieged Misty Cloud City. However, because they had hoarded more than 10 years' worth of food and spirit meat, they didn't have to scramble for the scarce supplies. They could still dine on a feast every day. Compared to other cultivators, their lives were infinitely better. She was grateful that her husband had had the foresight. Otherwise, they could have ended up like the others. Chapter 72. This is your lives purchased by spirit stones. We need to be careful. Hunger can lead to many problems. Especially those cultivators who are on the brink of starvation, who knows what they might do. We must be cautious of the potential riots and their thievery of our food these days. Zhou Sui warned sternly. While they currently had no worries about clothing and food, not all cultivators were as lucky. Even the secular kingdoms could face rebellions due to food shortages and consequent rampant disaster victims. The cultivation world would likely be even more terrifying. After all, cultivators wield formidable power. If they were to riot, it would inevitably wreak enormous chaos. A momentary lapse in attention could lead to the collapse of Misty Cloud City and provide the ghost demon sect an opportunity to invade. He was constantly on guard against any possible uprising. Don't worry, I've set up a superior grade first order array around our house. If any cultivator dares to invade, we'll immediately detect them. If they have ill intentions, they will be killed by the power of the array. Xiaojinjian confidently assured him. After all, she was a superior first-grade array master, capable of easily setting up a first-order array, which was more than enough to handle most cultivators at the Qi cultivation stage. Unless a cultivator at the Foundation establishment stage comes around, the breaking of the array would be quite a challenge. In fact, it wasn't only Zhou Sui who did so, almost every cultivator's residence was equipped with a defensive array. However, most of them were merely lower first-grade arrays, providing only basic protection. Nonetheless, it was wholly sufficient, at the very least, for early warnings. Excellent! Hearing those words, Zhou Sui was instantly gratified. As long as no Foundation establishment cultivator made an appearance, his location would be relatively safe, without having to worry about the covetous glances of other cultivators. After all, he had made many preparations to forestall the possibility of disturbances. These preparations were certainly not wasted. During the afternoon, as Zhou Sui was refining pills, improving his alchemy level in his private room, a deep voice echoed from outside the house, spreading throughout the entire street. I am Fan Zi, the steward of Immortal Mist Sect. All cultivators who are residing in these houses should come out to me. Swish, swish. Instantly, the doors of the entire row of courtyards were swung open, and each cultivator walked out, including Zhou Sui. Zhou Sui noticed a large number of patrollers in Misty Cloud City. Most of them were disciples of the Immortal Mist Sect, with a small portion belonging to the Lu family. These two forces had combined to become the most substantial power in Misty Cloud City, essentially maintaining law and order. At the same time, they were also responsible for eliminating the cultivators of the Ghost Demon sect outside the city. The cultivation levels of these patrollers were no less than the Qi cultivation 7th layer. Seeing that all the cultivators had come out, Fan Zi, the steward of the Immortal Mist sect, spoke very satisfactorily, I have something to inform you all. Starting from today, your rent will be increased by double, and you will have to pay 4 middle-grade spirit stones every month. If you paid in advance, you would need to make up the difference for the increased rent. If you lack the spirit stones, all of you will have to leave these houses. What? Upon hearing this, the faces of the surrounding cultivators changed drastically. Although they had heard similar news, which stated that Immortal Mist Sect intended to increase the rental prices and would raise it by a significant margin, they remained skeptical until it actually happened. But now, the Immortal Mist Sect had truly doubled the rent, leaving them no way out. Have you lost your minds? 4 middle-grade spirit stones each month, that's outright robbery. Where would we get so many spirit stones? A cultivator cursed. Despite the Immortal Mist Sect's formidable reputation and power, when pushed to a dead end, they had no choice but to fight back. Exactly, it's not just the rent that has been increased. The prices of spirit rice and spirit meat have also risen, and they are even rationed. It seems like you, Immortal Mist Sect, don't intend to give us a way to survive. Although we are loose cultivators, we are not easy to bully. If you push us too hard, we might as well fight you to death. Many loose cultivators were infuriated and glared at the patrollers of the Immortal Mist Sect. Each one of them was ready to activate their cultivation spells, gearing up for a fight. The patrollers grew tense as well. After all, if these loose cultivators were to rebel, they might not end up well. Are you fellow cultivators rebelling? Are you? Hearing these words, Fan Zi, the steward of the Immortal Mist Sect, roared angrily, all of you are living off the Immortal Mist Sect's resources, dwelling in the Immortal Mist Sect's houses, yet you are hesitating over kowtowing a few spirit stones. You have to understand that you are all alive now because of our Immortal Mist Sect's protection. If you are unwilling to pay the rent, you may leave Misty Cloud City. Let's see if those demonic path cultivators allow you to live. He swept a glance across the cultivators present, his gaze full of disdain. What? Hearing these words, the faces of the loose cultivators turned ghastly pale. They fell silent and could not retort. Clearly, if they really left Misty Cloud City, they would undoubtedly be torn apart by the cultivators of the Ghost Demon sect. Perhaps a few might be able to escape, but the vast majority of cultivators would be doomed. Although life was tough in Misty Cloud City, at least they could maintain their lives. Should they really leave Misty Cloud City, they were basically throwing themselves into the arms of death. Of course, we are not forcing you. The increase in rental fees is for the benefit of all. Seeing that the various loose cultivators had calmed down, Fan Zi, the steward of the Immortal Mist Sect, was quite satisfied. His tone softened, after all, the large second stage array of our Misty Cloud City requires a lot of spirit stones as energy. Without these spirit stones, the array would certainly stop running. If that happens and Misty Cloud City gets breached, we'll all die. We are increasing your rent out of necessity. The extra spirit stones and rent that we collect are all for your protection and for maintaining the operation of the Misty Cloud City's array. You think we want to collect so many spirit stones? These spirit stones are being used to buy your lives. Don't you understand this simple principle? The various cultivators were taken aback, not knowing what to retort. After all, if Misty Cloud City was really breached, none of the cultivators present would be able to survive. If paying some spirit stones could maintain the operation of the Misty Cloud City's array, then it might be a reasonable move. Of course, there's still a way out of this situation. At this moment, Fan Zi, the steward of the Immortal Mist Sect, changed his tune and continued to say, if you genuinely cannot afford the high rent and lack spirit stones for meals, you can join our patrolling team and become a member of our patrolling team. In doing so, not only can you secure free accommodation, but you would also be provided 3 meals a day. The patrolling team will certainly ensure there are no worries regarding your clothing and food. Of course, if you lack spirit stones or do not wish to become a member of the patrolling team, then I'm sorry to say that Misty Cloud City will not tolerate idlers. You will have to die. His tone was filled with a deep chill, and a terrifying murderous intent. Obviously, this was the strategy of the Immortal Mist sect. It was either to give money or effort. Living in Misty Cloud City for free was simply an impossibility. Chapter 73, The Cultivator from Immortal Mist sect is no longer overbearing. Upon hearing these words, the cultivators present fell silent, fully aware of the Immortal Mist sect's plan. If they didn't have money, they would have to join the patrol team and risk their lives defending Misty Cloud City against the Ghost Demon sect. The problem was, the demon cultivators of the Ghost Demon sect were terrifying and their methods uncanny. Even with the protection of a second stage formation, the patrol team of Misty Cloud City had suffered numerous losses over the past year. It was said that the patrol team was presently troubled by their lack of manpower. Therefore, the Immortal Mist sect intended to coerce these loose cultivators into joining the patrol team to assist in defending Misty Cloud City. Or, to put it bluntly, they were seeking fodder to deplete the strength of the cultivators in the Ghost Demon sect. Of course, excessive coercion could provoke a rebellion among the loose cultivators, which might cause instability within Misty Cloud City, give the Ghost Demon sect an opening, and break the Seventh Order formation. So they decided to go after the rent, further increasing it. They even covertly raised the price of food, thus quickly draining the loose cultivators' spirit stones, forcing them to the brink of exhaustion. Any cultivator lacking spirit stones would be obliged to accept their terms. Join the patrol team and become cannon fodder for the Immortal Mist sect. This technique of wielding both the carrot and the stick was something the Immortal Mist sect had long since perfected. As for the loose cultivators, they did not want to battle to the death with the Immortal Mist sect unless pressed into a corner. Alright, I'm giving you a day to think it over. Either pay up, serve in the military, or die. Fan Zi, the deacon of the Immortal Mist sect, had a cold look in his eyes as he issued the ultimate ultimatum. He was not particularly interested in spending more time with these rabble. In fact, if the Immortal Mist sect weren't in imminent crisis and besieged by the Ghost Demon sect, these loose cultivators wouldn't have the qualification to join the patrol team. Now, giving these loose cultivators the opportunity to join the patrol team could be considered their great fortune. Yet they had the audacity to delay and resist, they really had no sense of gratitude. Deacon Fan, you're correct. We all share a responsibility for the safety of Misty Cloud City. I decide to be the first to pay the rent, to support the cause of the Immortal Mist sect. If Misty Cloud City falls, we all suffer. At this moment, Su Tian stepped forward, displaying an air of righteousness. He proclaimed his unequivocal support for any decision made by the Immortal Mist sect, and believed that paying some extra spirit stones was quite justifiable. Indeed, it's good to see some here who understand reason. Seeing Su Tian's stance, Deacon Fan Zi was quite pleased. With such sensible cultivators on board, the matter of collecting high rents seemed likely to go smoothly. After witnessing this scene, other loose cultivators understood that the tide had turned. Deacon Fan, we indeed were in the wrong. Now that Misty Cloud City is on the brink of danger, those with money should contribute money, and those with strength should use their strength. Exactly, we can't contribute much in terms of strength, but money we can surely provide. 4 middle-grade spirit stones, we will give. Many of the loose cultivators began speaking in agreement. The ones speaking were mostly the high-level cultivators at the 9th layer of Qi cultivation. After all, they had vast properties and wealth. While 4 middle-grade spirit stones were a significant amount, they could still afford it. The worst off were the lower-level loose cultivators. They did not have many spirit stones. Essentially living paycheck to paycheck, they had no option to continue renting even if they wanted to. Their only choice was to join the patrol team and participate in the war against the Ghost Demon sect. Without money, they had no option but to risk their lives. Of course, Zhou Sui also chose to pay quietly. After all, he wasn't interested in risking his life for the Immortal Mist sect, or in becoming cannon fodder for them. Not long after collecting a large number of spirit stones, Fan Zi and other cultivators of the Immortal Mist sect left. After all, they still had to go to other places to continue collecting rent. For cultivators of the Immortal Mist sect, this was an opportunity to extract resources that they couldn't afford to miss. Seeing this, the cultivators around also went back to their homes. This doesn't look good. After returning home, Zhou Sui frowned with an uneasy feeling in his heart. He felt that something was off with the whole situation because the Immortal Mist sect seemed too amicable. The cultivators of the Immortal Mist sect he had known before were nothing like this. They were unreasonable when they could afford to be so. If they were being reasonable now, it must be because they no longer held the upper hand. When did the disciples of the Immortal Mist sect ever speak to loose cultivators with such gentleness? What's wrong, my lord? Do you sense something amiss? Ji Binjiu, Muzii, and Xia Jinjian looked at Zhou Sui curiously. Of course something's wrong. If I'm not mistaken, the Immortal Mist sect's condition might be bad. They might not even be able to send reinforcements. If they truly could have sent reinforcements, they would have sent Golden Core cultivators to kill the Ghost Demon sect cultivators outside by now. Why would they have held them off for a year with no news? Zhou Sui narrowed his eyes. My lord, do you mean the Ghost Demon sect might have attacked the headquarters of the Immortal Mist sect, attracting the attention of the two Golden Core cultivators of the Immortal Mist sect, thus making it impossible for the headquarter to send reinforcements? Impossible, isn't it said that Lang Yuexi, the young sect master of the Immortal Mist sect, is in our Misty Cloud City? He's the Golden Core seed of the Immortal Mist sect, surely they wouldn't have just abandoned him. Ji Binjiu, Muzii, and Xia Jinjian looked a bit shocked. It's not like they have given up, they might simply be incapable, they have the will but not the ability. The Ghost Demon sect likely applied a lot of pressure on the Immortal Mist sect, preventing all the Golden Core cultivators of the Immortal Mist sect from taking action. If there's unrest among the people of Misty Cloud City at this time, added to the machinations of the spies from the Ghost Demon sect, the city might be completely breached. Zhou Sui stroked his chin, laying out his conjecture. If this is the case, what should we do? Muzii asked with some nervousness. What is there to be afraid of? Upon hearing this, Zhou Sui laughed. We are not disciples of the Immortal Mist sect. Even if the city breaches, the first ones they would kill would be the cultivators of the Immortal Mist sect, not us loose cultivators. Of course, there's also the possibility that the cultivators of the demonic path might try to kill for loot and exterminate us loose cultivators. But wasn't the underground shelter I dug prepared for such a time? The moment unrest occurs, we will hide in the underground shelter, seal the entrance, and hibernate for a half to a few years. I don't believe the unrest would still not have ended by then. He was very calm at the moment. Whether it was the victory or defeat of the war between the Immortal Mist sect and the Ghost Demon sect, it didn't matter much to him. All he needed now was to survive the unrest. Once they hid hundreds of meters underground in the shelter, even a foundation-building cultivator wouldn't be able to discover them. The foundation establishment divine sense could reach tens of feet, but only if unimpeded. If it were to be extended deep into the ground, a few feet would be the limit. He believed that no cultivator would have the ability to dig hundreds of meters into the ground. Don't leave the house these few days. If there really comes a problem, we will immediately hide in the underground shelter, Zhou Sui said in a heavy tone. Okay. Ji Binjiu, Muzii, and Xia Jinjian all nodded in agreement. Chapter 74, The Chaos at Night, the robber repairer arrives. A few days had passed. Thanks to the Immortal Mist sect's policy of wielding both the stick and the carrot, they have suppressed and dispersed many loose cultivators. As a result, the previously chaotic situation in Misty Cloud City quickly stabilized. Wealthy loose cultivators could continue to reside in their original homes, cultivating undisturbed. If the loose cultivator didn't have money, he could only join the patrol team, fighting against the Ghost Demon sect cultivators outside the city. For a time, the internal pressure within Misty Cloud City was significantly reduced. Those loose cultivators attempting to cause trouble were sent to their deaths by the Immortal Mist sect, and no one dared to act rashly within a short period. One has to admit, the Immortal Mist sect's methods were indeed effective. However, such chaos was merely hidden. Due to the deliberate instigation of the Immortal Mist sect, secret battles became even more intense. It was like the calm before a storm. Late at night. With the arrival of April, the rainy season began, and it had been raining heavily these past few days, prolonging the gloom. Inside the courtyard house, it felt as if a concert had just ended, having experienced a frenzy of madness and screams, only to be followed by the dispersal of the crowd. The two women lying on the bed fell asleep contentedly, their faces slightly flushed and corners of their mouths curved with smiles, seeming rather pleased. Suddenly, Zhou Sui received streams of information from deep within his sea of consciousness, becoming aware that his cultivation had improved to some extent, his body surging with a vast force of true yuan. He took a look at his virtual panel. Host, Zhou Sui, Cultivation, Qi Cultivation 7th Layer, Progress 44%, Age, 21, out of 150. Aptitude, 7th Grade Spiritual Root, 30%. Swordsmanship, 1st Grade Superior, 85%. Rune, 1st Grade Superior, 75%. 7th Order Formation, 1st Grade Superior, 5%. Pill Master, 1st Grade Superior, 99%. Phantasma Transformation Skill, Minor Accomplishment, 25%. 5 Elements Alchemy Technique, Minor Accomplishment, 15%. Fireball Technique, Great Achievement, 95%, Wind Blade Art, Proficient, Golden Light Skill, Proficient, Ice Frost Skill, Proficient, Spring Wind Rain Skill, Proficient, Lightning Summoning Skill, Proficient. Obsession Goo, Mid-Class of 2nd Stage, Clone Goo, 1st Grade Superior, Wine Bug, 1st Grade Superior, Gold Eating Bug, 1st Grade Superior, Bookworm, 1st Grade Superior, Dream Soul Goo, 1st Grade Superior. He was very satisfied with the above data. It signified that over the past year, his various abilities had greatly improved, proving that his year of hard work wasn't in vain. Did my cultivation increase by half? It seems in a little over a year, I would be able to advance to the 8th stage of Qi cultivation. Zhou Sui stroked his chin, feeling very excited. Normally speaking, the later the stage, the slower the cultivation progress. If normal Qi cultivators want to advance from Qi cultivation 7th layer to the 8th layer, they couldn't do it without 10 years of harsh cultivation. But he has covered nearly half of the journey in just a year. Other than the assistance from the pills, this was all thanks to practicing dual cultivation with his 3 Dao companions, which was akin to switching on the cultivation accelerator. Each dual cultivation session could cause a significant increase in the true yuan within his body. However, due to its frequency, he felt rather exhausted and could only consume recuperative medication. Otherwise, he would only run away upon seeing these 3 enchantresses and spend most of his time sleeping in the meditation room. This was a man's challenge. Whether it was dealing with external difficulties or handling his wives at home, he needed to maintain a strong physique. My physique is still too weak. If I could refine the Dragon Elephant Goo, I would likely have a strong physique immediately, possessing the power of Dragon Elephant, allowing me to take on 10 at once. Zhou Sui clenched his fist. Unfortunately, he had only obtained one of the main ingredients, the dragon transforming ginseng, but he couldn't find the other main ingredient, the barbaric elephant grass, an extremely rare spiritual medicine that couldn't be bought even with money. He had initially planned to search for it in Misty Cloud City, but despite checking all the shops, he still couldn't find barbaric elephant grass. Hence, he had to temporarily give up on refining the dragon elephant goo, waiting for his chance in the future. All of a sudden, Zhou Sui's eyes gleamed with a spark of radiance. Through his profound foundation establishment divine sense, he sensed the sudden appearance of 5 stealthy presences near his home. His divine sense could extend to around 100 feet in radius, comparable to a middle-stage foundation establishment cultivator. Therefore, not many cultivators could escape his detection. These 5 uninvited guests were 3 Qi cultivation 9th layer cultivators, and 2 Qi cultivation 8th layer cultivators. Given their stealthy arrival to his home, they clearly harbored malicious intentions. Could they be cultivator robbers? Zhou Sui narrowed his eyes. He had heard similar news before, many late Qi cultivation cultivators unable to pay their rent due to financial difficulties, unwilling to become the cannon fodder of the Immortal Mist sect. Thus, these cultivators started robbing other cultivators and seizing their spirit stones. Over the past few days, numerous cultivators had been robbed at night, with some even suffering grave losses. They sure have the gall to set their sights on me. Zhou Sui released waves of killing intent. Truth be told, had this happened earlier, he would have been worried, but times were different now. His cultivation had advanced to the Qi cultivation 7th layer, equating to a late Qi cultivation cultivator. Now, he didn't need to borrow the reputation of his Dao companions and pose as something he wasn't. He could easily deal with other late Qi cultivation cultivators on his own, as his combat power received a substantial enhancement. Additionally, with the advancement of his Dream Soul Goo to the 1st grade superior realm, adding his own power to that, late Qi cultivation cultivators are not an issue anymore. With this in mind, he decided against waking his sleeping Dao companions and silently spread out the power of his Dream Soul Goo, covering an area of over 100 feet around him. Not far away, 5 stealthy cultivators arrived near Zhou Sui's home. They were loose cultivators from other regions who heard about the rich resources and the abundance of spirit stones in the Cloud Mist Mountain and thought they might find the opportunity to establish their foundation in Misty Cloud City. In other places, they were known as the 5 Tigers of Yan Mountain. The number of cultivators they killed and the wealth they plundered in other regions were innumerable. But they never expected that soon after arriving in Misty Cloud City, they would suddenly encounter the invasion of the Ghost Demon sect. Now, they were trapped in Misty Cloud City, unable to progress or retreat. What was even more frustrating was that due to their extravagant past spending of spirit stones, they were now unable to afford the raised rent imposed by the Immortal Mist sect. They could at most withstand it for a month. And they were not willing to join the patrol team, becoming cannon fodder of the Immortal Mist sect. As such, after giving it some thought, they had to return to their old ways, starting to rob other cultivators, stealing from the rich to aid the poor, and getting rich. Chapter 75, the combination of Dream Soul Goo and Gold-Eating Bug entering dreams and armor break. Big brother, are you sure there's a fat sheep in this house? At this moment, a grey-robed cultivator asked curiously, staring at Zhou Sui's house not far away. Of course. A cultivator with a scar on his face revealed a glint of coldness in his eyes. The cultivator who lives in this house is well known. There live 3 beautiful female cultivators, all first class in figure and looks. They are unpretentious towards other male cultivators, and their cultivation is at the late stages of chi cultivation. The most outrageous thing is that there is also a pretty boy who is only a cultivator of the 4th layer of chi cultivation. He's monopolized those 3 female cultivators and enjoys the blessings others dream about. A look of envy, jealousy, and resentment flashed across his face. You should know, they were usually suffering outside, working themselves to death, starving from one meal to the next. But that pretty boy was comfortably enjoying life at home with the care of his wives and concubines. He was not balanced in his heart and felt extremely jealous. No way, why would those 3 late stag chi cultivators even look at that boy, let alone becoming his wives? What on earth does he have? Asked a cultivator with a thin face and pointy features, incredulously. He felt that the whole thing was absurd. Not sure, but perhaps that pretty boy really has a knack for charming women. He's got those women madly in love with him, willing to keep him. Honestly, the kind of men I hate the most are these freeloaders. They're so lacking in ambition, the scar-faced cultivator said, feeling a surge of bitterness in his stomach. Overwhelmed by jealousy, he wished to take that boy's place. But boss, even if that pretty boy is of no concern, those 3 female cultivators are not so simple. They're all cultivators at the late stages of chi cultivation, a white-faced cultivator said cautiously. In the world of cultivation, we judge by cultivation level, not gender. In the world of cultivation, powerful female cultivators are not in the minority. If they were careless for a moment, they could die, so they had to be very careful. Relax, I've already investigated. The 3 female cultivators living here are not particularly good fighters. They are all pill masters or talisman masters and usually earn money by their crafts. These 3 female cultivators have been living here for 3 years and have seldom left Misty Cloud City. As you can imagine, their combat abilities must be poor. They've pure relied on resources to build up their cultivation. If we strike, they are bound to die in the face of a premeditated attack. Of course, we might not need to kill them. We could enslave them and have them make money for us. A glint of coldness flashed in the scar-faced cultivator's eyes. Really? You all certainly do have lovely fantasies. At that moment, a voice sounded deep in their consciousness, void of emotions. What? The scar-faced cultivator and others felt goosebumps. They were well aware that their whereabouts had been exposed. Being discovered could mean a fatal crisis for ones like them who were preparing for robbery. The problem was that they couldn't see where the enemy was, nor how they had been exposed. The one talking was naturally Zhou Sui. He had no interest in revealing his whereabouts. Ridding of enemies remotely, why bother engaging in close combat? Wouldn't it be foolish? Boom boom boom. Instantly, an insubstantial wave of soul energy stealthily spread out, virtually solidifying, and blanketed over these 5 tigers of Yunshan Mountain in an instant. This was the ability of the Dream Soul Goo, entering dreams. After advancing to the 7th layer of chi cultivation, Zhou Sui's soul power had seen a huge improvement. Consequently, the power of Dream Soul Goo had also increased, incomparable to before. If the previous dream entering ability had some fluctuations and could potentially be detected. Now, it was almost void of any fluctuation. Even if he used it face to face, the enemy would have no idea when they were stricken. The more important factor was that Zhou Sui's divine sense was comparable to the medium phase of foundation establishment, which further enhanced the power of the dream soul gu, making it even mightier. These 5 tigers of Yunshan, even the cultivator of the Qi cultivation nineth layer, were defenseless against it. Almost instantaneously, they were plunged into a dreamland. At this moment, they were like stunned chickens, their 5 senses sealed off, oblivious to what was happening in the outside world. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The next second, shafts of golden light flew through the air. It was undoubtedly a swarm of gold-eating bugs. They were flapping their wings, lightning fast, darting towards the 5 tigers of Yunshan. Armor break! With a loud bang, they were like an unstoppable beam of sword light, instantly piercing through the skulls of the 5 tigers of Yunshan. The protective aura emitted by the magic artifacts on them was of no avail, easily penetrated through. This was the power of armor break of the gold-eating bugs. Even a top-grade magic weapon would find it difficult to resist it. This was the terrifying power of gold-eating bugs. Splash! Suddenly, one by one, the cultivators fell to the ground with their eyes wide open, their expressions filled with shocking fear and disbelief, seemingly unable to believe that they had met their end so abruptly. The famous 5 tigers of Yunshan were instantly killed without any chance to retaliate. Not bad. The power of the gu insects has improved greatly. Sensing this scene, Zhou Sui was quite satisfied. Apparently, after advancing to first grade superior, the power of both the dream soul gu and gold-eating bugs had increased significantly. Especially the coordination between the dream soul gu and gold-eating bugs was simply seamless. The power of dreams combined with the power of armor break was simply invincible, omnipotent, and could infiltrate anywhere. I guess even the cultivators at the foundation establishment stage could be troubled by such a combination to some extent. Well, I should still be cautious. Zhou Sui almost considered finding a foundation establishment cultivator to test his current power. Having effortlessly slaughtered these 5 loose cultivators at the late stage of Qi cultivation, he had to admit, his pride was somewhat inflated. While he didn't dare claim to be peerless, there were indeed few who could rival him now. It was hard not to let his pride swell up. But he soon calmed down and restrained his inflated sense of self. After all, he was someone striving for immortality. If he could avoid taking risks, he would naturally do so. There was no need to behave like some headstrong young man, causing trouble everywhere, making enemies, and inviting complications. Soul search. However, Zhou Sui did not stop. He continued to use the second power of the dream soul gu, soul search. He wanted to know why these 5 cultivators suddenly sought to cause him trouble. Normally, he had not offended anyone recently. So, why would anyone seek him out? He found this situation quite unusual. So he wanted to search through the memories of these 5 loose cultivators to see what was really going on and whether someone was plotting against him and causing him trouble. Boom! A surge of immense soul memories flooded into the depths of the soul of dream soul gu, like a tide. At the same time, strands of soul energy were being devoured and absorbed by the dream soul gu, constantly enhancing its own power. Su Tian's. Zhou Sui's eyes displayed a glint of chill and a profound murderous intent. From the memory of the 5 tigers of Yunshan, he clearly perceived the figure of one person, Su Tian's. Chapter 76 Great Harvest, Obtaining the Foundation Pill Elixir Formula. Clearly, the Yan Mountain 5 tigers' visit to Zhou Sui's home was not without reason. They had heard Su Tian's introduction of Ji Binjiu and others, and so, on a whim, they had decided to murder and rob them at night, in the hope of amassing a large fortune. This was the so-called allure of treasures. Without Su Tian's words, they might not have come. However, it must be said, Su Tian's was truly cunning, never leaving any loose ends in his acts. He didn't explicitly instigate the Yan Mountain 5 tigers, he simply shared some information about Zhou Sui's household. But for robbers like the Yan Mountain 5 tigers, the mere knowledge of such a tempting target made them unable to resist. A simple scheme of using another's hand to kill had been perfectly executed by them. When did I offend this Su Tian's, that he would plot against me like this? Zhou Sui squinted his eyes, puzzled beyond measure. As a classic homebody who rarely ventured outside, his interactions with his neighbors had been minimal. Under normal circumstances, he shouldn't have many enemies. The issue was, Su Tian seemed to harbor a grudge against him and continued to plot against him. If he wasn't somewhat powerful himself, he might have been in deep trouble. That's right, in this world, one doesn't need to harbor a grudge to come under covert attack. Perhaps one has simply blocked someone's course, or someone has taken a liking to something. Could it be that the guy noticed something, and thinks that I possess lots of valuables? A sliver of coldness shot through Zhou Sui's eyes. He had actually not intended to concern himself with Sutians. Even if Sutians were one of the demon cultivators, as long as he didn't pose a hindrance, Zhou Sui could turn a blind eye towards it. But unexpectedly, Sutians wasn't willing to let him go. This left him with no choice but to counter. However, dealing with Sutians would require careful planning. Swoosh! Thinking about this, Zhou Sui's figure flashed, appearing outside the door. He cast the fireball technique, instantly incinerating the corpses of the Yan Mountain 5 tigers. In no time at all, they turned into ashes. As if the Yan Mountain 5 tigers had never existed. Of course, he also took their storage bags. Cultivators at the late Qi cultivation stage like these, especially robbers, might carry valuable treasures. Therefore, he definitely would not miss an opportunity to acquire such treasures. Impressive, they actually carried so many treasures. Didn't they commit robbery due to a lack of money? This is simply a matter of greed. As expected of late Qi cultivators, even a derelict ship has a few nails. Upon returning to his house, Zhou Sui promptly opened the 5 storage bags. With a simple sweep of his divine sense, he sensed a variety of treasures inside. Although there were not many spirit stones inside the storage bags, perhaps because they had spent them all, there were bottles and bottles of pills suitable for late Qi cultivators. Such as 5 bottles of golden marrow pills, 7 bottles of yellow dragon pills, 3 bottles of top-grade detoxifying pills and 3 bottles of fasting pills, etc. In short, pills to enhance cultivation, antidote pills and Qi replenishing pills, every kind was there. It was clear that they valued their cultivation advancement highly. They did not lack spirit stones, instead they had merely transformed their spirit stones into these pills. But now, all these pills belonged to him. Simply selling these pills could earn him 50,000 lower-grade spiritual stones. There are so many magic artifacts and materials. Zhou Sui stroked his chin. In addition to the pills, there were many magic artifacts inside each Yan Mountain 5 Tigers storage bag. Specifically, 36 lower-grade magic tools, 18 middle-grade magic tools, and 5 top-grade magic weapons. There were also many precious ores and materials. Undoubtedly, these materials' total value was also at least equivalent to 50,000 lower-grade spiritual stones. That means, the value of the goods inside topped 100,000 lower-grade spiritual stones, a considerable amount. Clearly, regular cultivators wouldn't possess so many magic artifacts and materials. The overwhelming odds were that the Yan Mountain 5 Tigers stole them from others. I'm not an artifact refiner. Given the current market trends in Misty Cloud City, I wouldn't get a good price anyway. I'll just feed these to the gold-eating bugs instead. Zhou Sui squinted his eyes. To the gold-eating bugs, these magic artifacts and various materials were top-grade food. If they consumed all of them, it would significantly boost their power and speed up their evolution. Perhaps they'd advance to the second stage, just like the obsession goo. If that were to happen, with the gold-eating bug swarm, Zhou Sui could easily eliminate foundation-building cultivators. It would be as if he possessed the battle prowess of a foundation establishment stage cultivator even before he reached that stage himself. Crack, crack. Upon that thought, Zhou Sui gestured broadly, throwing these magic artifacts and materials to the gold-eating bugs. The excited bugs immediately swarmed towards the loot. They began to devour it, much like eating chocolates. The aura they exuded became increasingly powerful, their bodies seemingly coated with various metallic shells with densely packed rune patterns. The enchanting strength of the magical artifacts pulsed from their bodies. Obviously, the strengths of these gold-eating bugs had undergone a vast improvement. Hang on, this is a foundation pill formula. A thought flitted through Zhou Sui's mind. He scrutinizing the contents of the storage bag again only to find the pleasant surprise. He hadn't expected to obtain a foundation pill formula from the Yan Mountain 5 Tigers. Understandably, a foundation pill formula was highly valuable, not something that could be bought easily even with money. He hadn't expected that the Yan Mountain 5 Tigers had managed to find one. However, after thinking it through, it did make sense. After all, their cultivation had actually reached the 9th layer of Qi cultivation stage. It was time for them to hunt for the foundation pill. The problem was, acquiring a foundation pill was extremely difficult for them, and required the sect to release some. But the vast majority of foundation pills had been seized by clan cultivators. How could it be the turn of loose cultivators? Since they couldn't procure the foundation pill at the auction, their natural course of action was to create it themselves. And so, the Yan Mountain Five Tigers had expended a huge price to find the foundation pill recipe. Little did they know, now it would be of benefit to him. What luck! I sought far and wide, only to find it effortlessly. Zhou Sui was filled with great joy. He had initially planned to obtain the foundation pill formula from the auction at Suanbao Tower. He hadn't imagined that these robbers would present themselves on a platter, giving him such a significant advantage. One could only say, they were like his fortune-handing boys, benefiting him greatly. Let's see what this foundation pill formula looks like. Upon thinking this, Zhou Sui waved, instantly throwing the foundation pill formula to his bookworm. He couldn't care less about remembering the contents of the foundation pill formula. Once the bookworm ate it, he'd naturally remember it completely. Unless he died, the recollection of the foundation pill formula would not disappear. With a cracking sound, the bookworm immediately lunged at it, consuming the foundation pill formula. Immediately, a vast wave of information flooded his sea of consciousness. Chapter 77, The Main Drug Golden Jade Lingzi, Second Stage Demon Core. The main ingredient for the foundation pill is the tricentennial Golden Jade Lingzi, in addition to many other valuable medicinal aids. However, none of these supplementing medicines are of utmost importance. The real star ingredient is the Golden Jade Lingzi. The Golden Jade Lingzi thrives in especially rigorous environments, only under certain conditions it is able to grow. Sects like Immortal Mist Sect and Ghost Demon Sect have monopolized the production of foundation pills, cutting off their external circulation by cornering the market for Golden Jade Lingzi. As long as the Golden Jade Lingzi doesn't circulate outside, even an alchemy grandmaster would be unable to craft a foundation pill. It's like cooking without rice. Apart from the sect cultivators, who could possibly cultivate the Golden Jade Lingzi? No wonder there are scarcely any loose cultivators who are able to attain a foundation pill. The monopolization is too intense. Zhou Sui inhaled deeply as soon as he grasped the information about the foundation pill. He finally realized the severity of the monopoly in this world. Not only is knowledge monopolized, but also different kinds of pills and medicinal herbs are solely controlled by the powerhouses. To obtain these, one must join a sect. If one remains a loose cultivator, progress becomes excruciatingly difficult. Advancement becomes impossible. It's nothing more than a fool's pipe dream. If possible, he also desired to join a large organization, to be a disciple of a sect, and become part of the monopolistic hierarchy. The problem is, his aptitude is far from suitable, so they won't deem him as valuable. Even if he were to shamelessly present himself, nobody would want him. This is the harsh reality of this world. However, it's not absolute that without a foundation pill, one cannot reach foundation establishment. If that was the case, there wouldn't be the existence of the first cultivator reaching foundation establishment in this world. It's indeed possible that in the cultivation world there are cultivators who can reach foundation establishment without a foundation pill, for instance, those with an upper grade spiritual root or a heavenly spirit root. They're capable of foundation establishment on their own. Issue is, excluding those with a heavenly spirit root, cultivators with other spiritual roots face a certain degree of risk in their foundation establishment process. With this, there's only a success rate of 70%, 50%, or even 30%. If it's not successful, it's complete obliteration. There's no such thing as fortunate survival. In the absence of foundation pills, one is left with no other choice but to risk foundation establishment. Over the long course of time, there are still a few fortunate individuals who successfully undergo foundation establishment without the need for a foundation pill. While success in foundation establishment without a foundation pill is possible, albeit with a lower success rate. The problem is, why take unnecessary risks? Even with a success rate of 90%, there's still a 10% chance of failure, right? If one can succeed with 100% certainty, why gamble on their life? There's only one life, and failure means the end of it. Zhou Sui, being extremely cautious, understood that establishing foundation may not strictly mandate a foundation pill, but, with a foundation pill, even if he fails, his life would not be at risk. The most pivotal point is, he isn't an elderly cultivator of 60 to 70 years, but a mere youth of 21. He has ample time to attempt foundation establishment. There's absolutely no need for unnecessary risks at the moment. When things get utterly impossible, there's still no harm in attempting foundation establishment on his own. However, Golden Jade Lingzi isn't irreplaceable. If I happen to find a second stage demon core, it would just as well be able to replace Golden Jade Lingzi in crafting the foundation pill. Zhou Sui squinted his eyes. From the information he had gathered from the 5 tigers of Yan Mountain, he understood that the 5 cultivators came to the Cloud Mist Mountain range to hunt magical beasts and procure second stage demon cores. What exactly is a second stage demon core? In fact, most second stage magical beasts don't possess a demon core, unless they possess exceptional talent, in which case they could possibly nurture a second stage demon core. Once upon a time, some loose cultivators managed to hunt down second stage magical beasts, getting their hands on second stage demon cores. This allowed them to substitute the Golden Jade Lingzi as main ingredient and successfully refine foundation pills. The problem is, accomplishing this is nearly impossible. That's because the power of a second stage magical beast is comparable to a cultivator at the foundation establishment stage, and certain beasts are even stronger than ordinary foundation establishment stage cultivators. For a chi cultivation stage cultivator to face a second stage magical beast is akin to seeking one's own demise. The situation would be much easier only if the foundation establishment cultivators personally took action. However, if a loose cultivator could find a foundation establishment cultivator for help, getting a foundation pill would not be that hard. Why then would they need a demon core? Also, because of the small number of second stage magical beasts that can produce inner cores, you'd possibly need to kill dozens of them just to get one demon core. This entails cultivators venturing deep into Cloud Mist Mountain range to kill a large amount of second stage magical beasts. However, deep inside the Cloud Mist Mountain range lies a third stage magical beast, equaling a golden core cultivator in terms of strength, utterly terrifying. If you were to alert a third stage magical beast, death is certain. Indeed, regardless, in order to procure a second stage demon core and hence a foundation pill, many loose cultivators still resort to forming alliances and venturing deep into the Cloud Mist Mountain range to hunt the second stage magical beasts. Even if countless lives were lost, they still flocked towards it unwavering, never backing down. Once you set foot on the path of becoming an immortal, not many are willing to retreat. A second stage demon core? It seems obtaining it wouldn't exactly be impossible. Zhou Sui stroked his chin. A common loose cultivator, in order to attain a second stage demon core, would need to court death. But he was not ordinary, he could manipulate many goo insects. In particular, once he successfully refines the gold-eating bug, if he successfully breeds a large number of them forming a giant swarm, then killing a second stage magical beast would not be impossible. The most important factor is, he doesn't need to take action personally, as long as he can manipulate goo from a distance. Even if he truly fails, his body wouldn't suffer any damage. He was different from those loose cultivators. Those cultivators' death would be certain after one failed, but he could afford countless failures. Wait, not only can I hunt second stage magical beasts, but maybe I can also breed them. Zhou Sui had an idea. He had wine bugs that could produce a large amount of first stage spiritual wine. Fed on spiritual wine in large quantities, there is a chance that a first stage magical beast can evolve to the second stage. If the wine bug can further enhance its cultivation to a second stage wine bug, it would be able to produce second stage spiritual wine. Things would be much easier when time comes to breed a second stage magical beast. This method doesn't sound that bad. Capture a large number of first stage magical beasts to breed, then cultivate them using spiritual wine. Provided the quantity is substantial, I can't believe it's impossible to breed a second stage magical beast. Once it evolves into a second stage magical beast, I will lay a trap. At the moment it breaks through to the second stage, I will seize the moment and kill it, claiming its inner core. In this way, I could endlessly procure second stage inner cores and manufacture foundation pills. Zhou Sui squinted his eyes, a glimmer of excitement reflecting off them. He seemed to have found a way to craft foundation pills without the help of a section. He would be better off manufacturing foundation pills himself than going to any auction. Chapter 78. When will you take Sister Xia as a concubine? The next morning. What's going on? Why isn't there any disturbance? Su Tian's had been constantly monitoring Zhou Sui's courtyard, but he had been on watch all night to no avail. There had been no activity next door, and no sign of any presence. He could even see Zhou Sui and his wife and concubines going out for morning training, doing the laundry, cooking meals, just like any other day. The problem was, he had deliberately hinted to the 5 tigers of Yan Mountain that the cultivator next door surely possessed a large amount of spirit stones. Given the 5 tigers' character, they could not have resisted the temptation and would surely have made a move to rob and kill. But until this morning, he had seen no sign of the 5 tigers taking any action, which was completely baffling. Did the 5 tigers of Yan Mountain fail to understand my meaning, hence they didn't make a move? Or did they make a move but were killed off silently by that bunch of female cultivators? Su Tian's frowned slightly, leaning towards the first guess, since the second seemed too absurd. After all, the 5 tigers of Yan Mountain were cultivators in the late stage of qi cultivation. He himself felt somewhat apprehensive towards them. To secretly kill them off was nothing short of a delusional dream. He seriously doubted that those delicate female cultivators possessed such capabilities. Humph, I didn't expect this kid to be so lucky as to escape this calamity. Those damn 5 tigers of Yan Mountain are incompetent. They claim to be eminent robbers but don't dare to lay a finger on a few female cultivators. What kind of robbers are they? Talking about being the 5 tigers, I'd say they are the 5 mice of Yan Mountain, all as timid as a mouse. Forget it, now is not the time to reveal myself. The most important thing is to complete the task set by the sect. I will spare this kid for now. When Misty Cloud City is captured, that will be the end of him. A cold light flashed in Su Tian's eyes. Although he was not satisfied with the failure of this plan, he didn't let it bother him too much. After all, it was just a casual move. Whether it succeeded or not, it didn't matter. At noon, Zhou Sui, Ji Binjiu, Mu Ziyi, and Xia Jinjian were having lunch. The table was laden with an array of dishes, emitting a tantalizing aroma. It was quite extravagant. One meal was worth at least 10 or so lower-grade spiritual stones. Husband, our lifestyle is simply too luxurious. I have heard that the prices of grain and meat have skyrocketed outside. I reckon this meal would be worth 100 lower-grade spirit stones if sold outside. Mu Ziyi exclaimed. She had made inquiries and realized that currently, spirit rice, meat, and vegetables were all being rationed in Misty Cloud City. The black market prices were almost 10 times higher compared to the past. If other cultivators saw that they were able to afford such a luxurious meal, they would likely be green with envy. This is the benefit of preparing in advance. If we had not stocked up on food early, we would not be able to afford such luxurious meals. Zhou Sui said smugly. Husband, it would be best for us to be more cautious lately. Apparently, quite a few robbers have appeared in Misty Cloud City these days. Ji Binjiu's face was grave. They often commit their crimes at night, breaking into houses to rob. There have been quite a few robberies on our street alone. Some even lost their lives. For example, the families of cultivators Lu, Sun, and Zhao were all robbed, and everyone was killed. Their wealth was taken away. She pointed out that Misty Cloud City was not safe right now, and was even more dangerous than before. Upon hearing this, Zhou Sui chuckled. Of course it wasn't safe, just the previous night his house was invaded by the 5 tigers of Yan Mountain. If he hadn't detected them in time, they might have become the newest victims on the news. Luckily, his cultivation had improved and he easily dealt with the group of robbers, ensuring their safety. However, he didn't feel the need to share too much about this, so as to avoid causing his wives and concubines unnecessary anxiety. What? They have become so brazen as to carry out burglaries in broad daylight. Mu Ziyi was shocked. Wait a second, such a major incident has happened. Didn't anyone report it to the Immortal Mist sect? Have those robbers been found by the patrols of Immortal Mist sect? She could not believe that such a significant crime could occur in Misty Cloud City under the governance of Immortal Mist sect. She had been living in Misty Cloud City for 3 years and hardly witnessed this kind of event. Ha! The Immortal Mist sect really don't have the time to deal with such matters right now. They won't bother about our life or death. Ji Binjiu shook her head. After all, simply resisting the daily attacks from the Ghost Demon sect is quite a headache for them, let alone dealing with these cases of robbery and murder. In the past, there had been cultivators who sought justice from the Immortal Mist sect patrols. But it was useless. All they got was an acknowledgement of their report, but there was no intention of searching for the culprits. Instead, it seemed like they were encouraging such events, which was a chilling thought. Over time, no one bothered to report these incidents anymore and could only rely on their own luck. It's not as simple as being overwhelmed. Reducing the number of loose cultivators might just be what the cultivators from the Immortal Mist sect are after, Zhou Sui said in a somber tone. What do you mean? Ji Binjiu and the others were somewhat perplexed. I mean it in a literal sense. Zhou Sui said solemnly, nobody knows how long this war will last. Maybe another 3 years, 5 years. But the supply of food in the city is dwindling. However, there are too many loose cultivators inside the city. A large population means a large daily consumption of food. If they can take this opportunity to eliminate some loose cultivators, the pressure on food supplies might well be greatly relieved. He always speculated with the utmost malice about others. Although this might not be the real goal of the Immortal Mist sect cultivators, their actions have resulted in this outcome. There is no doubt about this. In that case, I need to enhance the strength of my array restrictions to prevent outside cultivators from breaking into our courtyard and robbing us. Xia Jinjian became somewhat anxious at once. She became restless and began checking around for any loopholes in the array to prevent enemies from infiltrating their home silently. If that were to happen, they would be in grave danger. Cultivator Xia, you are quite responsible. Seeing this, Zhou Sui sighed. It was because they had such a responsible array master that they could sleep peacefully each night. If there was any issue with the array, they would not be able to sleep well at all. They would be afraid that robbers might sneak into their bedrooms and take their lives. Cultivator Xia. Hearing this, Ji Binjiu gave Zhou Sui a half-smiling, half-serious look. Husband, you and Xia are so close, why do you still refer to her as Cultivator Xia? When will you take Xia as your concubine? Her beautiful eyes shone with an unusual light. Zhou Sui blinked. He wasn't a fool, and he could understand the meaning of his wife's words. And she was pretty blunt. Obviously, his intimate relationship with Xia Jinjian had long been discovered by this wise and clever woman. But this was to be expected. They had all been living under the same roof for such a long time, practically spending dawn to dusk together. How could it not be discovered? Their actions during the day were also bold and unrestrained. The reason Ji Binjiu had not made this issue clear was that she was simply turning a blind eye, and might even be pleased about it. It seemed that she didn't want to feign ignorance any longer. Chapter 79, Taking Xia Jinjian as my concubine, better to benefit my sisters than others. When did you find out? Zhou Sui asked curiously. He had always thought he had been careful enough not to leave any clues, but to his surprise, he was still discovered. I figured it out quite early. After all, Xia's scent would occasionally appear on you, even a fool would eventually figure it out. Ji Binjiu chuckled, I never expected you to have such charm that even Xia's sister could not resist throwing herself into your arms, looking for your affection. Scent. Hearing this, Zhou Sui's lips twitched. This was simply an oversight in his careful plans. He thought he had been very thorough, but failed to consider the scent. But on reflection, it made sense. As a Qi cultivation nineth layer cultivator, one's senses are extremely sensitive, especially the sense of smell. Even better than a detection dog. However, it's a good thing for you to take Sister Xia as your concubine. After all, having one more sister can help share our burdens. Actually, I was intending to find some concubines for you. Once I attempt to break into the Foundation establishment realm, I might need to go into seclusion for several months or even a year. During such a long time, if nobody is serving you, it would be a dereliction of my duty. Who knows, you might feel lonely and go find those courtesans. Rather than letting those courtesans benefit, it'd be better if it were my sisters. With Sister Xia and Sister Mu sharing the burden, I've become much more relaxed. However, Sister Xia and us are already as close as family, there's no need to continue hiding. Of course, if you both actually enjoy the thrill of this situation, then that's another story. Ji Binjiu looked at Zhou Sui very seriously. What? Hearing this, Zhou Sui blinked. Although he was aware that women in this world were different from his previous life, he never expected his partner to be so understanding. Not only did she not oppose him having other women, but also wished for him to take more concubines. He was left speechless. She truly was a woman like a queen, possessing maternal leadership. All right, let's choose an auspicious day to formally accept Jinjian as my concubine. Zhou Sui coughed and then said solemnly. He had spent over 3 years in this world, and was pretty accustomed to its moral values. In this world, it is acceptable for men to have multiple wives and concubines, and so can women. These are not problems at all. Those who possess extraordinary powers can do as they wish, controlling everything. Weakness is the true original sin, the powerless deserve no rights. At this moment, Xia Jinjian, who had just returned from the outside, blushed and looked shy yet tempted when she heard Zhou Sui's words. However, it was clear that Ji Binjiu had already talked to her about this beforehand, otherwise she would not have reacted this way. Should we inform our neighbors about this? Mu Zhi asked. No need, it's a time of chaos, it's not suitable to make a big deal out of it. A simple celebration will suffice. Plus, our old neighbors are long gone, we don't really have any neighbors now. Zhou Sui waved his hand. He had experienced what it feels like for things to change completely. In just over 3 years, his neighbors had changed over and over again, even faster than the growth of leek. This was the world of cultivation. On the path to immortality, there are bones everywhere. The number of people who meet their end properly is extremely few. Most die on the path of seeking the Dao. The path of longevity is always lonely. Fortunately, he had partners to accompany him. Otherwise, if he was the only one to achieve eternal life, it would be too lonely. At night, the lights are bright. The table was laden with rare fruits, various spiritual wines and roasted meats, succulent delicacies, remarkably lavish and redolent with enticing aroma. Zhou Sui, Ji Binjiu, Mu Zhi, and Xia Jinjian enjoyed a rare extravagant dinner. Even though the world outside was in chaos and cultivators of evil intent appeared, their home remained incredibly safe, and they need not worry about thieves breaking in. Even in the absence of guests, they could still sense each other's joy, almost merging together into one. After going through 3 rounds of drinking, everyone was slightly tipsy. Especially Zhou Sui, looking at the 3 beautiful women, his eyes suddenly heated up. For the first time, he held them in his arms outrightly, an utterly satisfying feeling. Such is the ultimate happiness of life. Soon, the room was filled with sounds of amorous rendezvous throughout the night. Fortunately, there was a silencing barrier around the house, or else it would definitely cause a disturbance. In July, the cloud mist mountain range had already entered a sizzling phase, with scorching summer heat. 2 or 3 months had passed since the last rent hike by the Immortal Mist sect. During this period, the Ghost Demon sect still relentlessly attacked Misty Cloud City, but unfortunately, they couldn't break through. Both sides remained at a deadlock. For Zhou Sui, it was a rare period of peace. After all, as long as the Ghost Demon sect doesn't break in, he would still be safe. At most, he would need to pay a little more rent, which he could easily afford. Further, he had a substantial stash of food, so even if he didn't venture out, he wouldn't be concerned about food shortage. Even if it was just his family remaining, they could stay at home till the end of time. Especially, after accepting Xia Jinjian as his concubine, Zhou Sui fully let go and engaged in dual cultivation with his 3 Taoist companions almost daily, thus improving his cultivation. After 3 months of intense cultivation, he made significant progress towards the 8th layer of Qi cultivation. The relationship with his companions also deepened, they were practically inseparable. However, this continuous indulgence had left him pale and at the verge of collapse. I can't go on like this. If this reckless life continues, I'm afraid I'll have to start taking tonics in my 20s, Zhou Sui remarked, his face as white as a sheet. He acknowledged that since taking Xia Jinjian as a concubine, this seductress has been unabashedly demanding. Earlier, they restrained themselves a bit due to their untold relationship. But now, relying on her alluring inner beauty, she often provokes him. This led him nearly drained and out of steam. Frankly, he was feeling a bit weak in the knees now and was hesitant to return to the bedroom, fearing he would be devoured by these 3 femmes fatales. Nevertheless, all this hard work paid a bit. Zhou Sui took a look at his virtual panel. Host, Zhou Sui, Cultivation, Qi Cultivation 7th Layer, Progress 66%, Age, 21, 150 cycles. Aptitude, 7th Grade Spiritual Root, 60%. Swordsmanship, 1st Grade Superior, 89%. Rune, 1st Grade Superior, 85%. 7th Order Formation, 1st Grade Superior, 15%. Pill Master, 1st Grade Superior, 99%. Phantasma Transformation Skill, Minor Accomplishment, 25%. 5 Elements Alchemy Technique, Minor Accomplishment, 20%. Fireball Technique, Great Achievement, 99%, Wind Blade Art, Proficient, Golden Light Skill, Proficient, Ice Frost Skill, Proficient, Spring Wind Rain Skill, Proficient, Lightning Summoning Skill, Proficient. Obsession Gu, Mid-Class of 2nd Stage, Clone Gu, first grade superior, wine bug, first grade superior, gold eating bug, first grade superior, bookworm, first grade superior, dream soul goo, first grade superior. Clearly, in addition to progress in his cultivation, the improvement in his spiritual root aptitude was the most significant. If he continues to evolve at this rate, it might not be long before his spiritual root elevates to the 6th stage. Chapter 80, Trading Magic Artifacts for Food, Cultivator Bows for 5 dough of rice. Thump, thump, thump. Just as Zhou Sui was planning to continue his cultivation, he suddenly heard a knocking at the door. Who is it? Zhou Sui sent out his consciousness and detected an old cultivator outside the door. He appeared to be in his 70s or 80s, with the cultivation level at the 8th layer of Qi cultivation. He quickly recognized him. This was his neighbor, Qianwei, an artifact refiner. However, they just barely knew each other and weren't too familiar. Unexpectedly, Qianwei had come looking for him. Fellow Daoist Qian, what brings you here unannounced? Zhou Sui opened the door and asked. Fellow Daoist Zhou. Upon seeing Zhou Sui open the door, Qianwei was immediately relieved and explained, I was wondering if you had any spare food and spirit meat that you could trade. I could offer a lower grade magical tool in exchange. He wanted to trade spirit meat and spirit rice with Zhou Sui. Trade for spirit rice and spirit meat? Are you saying you've run out of food? Hearing this, Zhou Sui was taken aback. This was simply unheard of. In the past in Misty Cloud City, spirit rice and spirit meat were almost worthless. If cultivators wanted to trade these foods for pills and magic artifacts, it was basically a pipe dream. But now, this Qianwei was actually willing to part with precious magic artifacts in exchange, which was simply incredible. It was like using gold to trade for rice and flour. In peacetime, no one would do such a foolish thing. All gone. I've run out of food. Who could have expected that Misty Cloud City would be in such a long siege? I also didn't think to store so much food. The food that I did store has already been eaten, I don't even have a single fasting pill left. Qianwei was filled with regret. If he had known how important food would be, he would have stored a heap of it to begin with. Instead, now he had to humble himself for a little food. But it was a necessary evil. The space in a cultivator's storage bag was limited, and most of them had only 1 or 2 cubic meters of space. Most of it was occupied by secret scripts, magic artifacts, pills, and other valuables. Why would anyone store food? Furthermore, fasting pills were not cheap, no one would store them in large quantities. Even if you've run out of food, you could still buy more. Aren't the shops now providing limited supplies? Why sell your magic artifacts for so little? Zhou Sui asked. Don't you know, fellow Daoist Zhou? Upon hearing this, Qianwei seemed a bit surprised. Last night, the warehouse in Misty Cloud City storing spirit rice and meat was attacked by spies from the Ghost Demon sect, and a large amount of food was destroyed all at once. Now, even the Immortal Mist sect can't supply large amounts of food. Even if you go to the shops to buy food now, you can't buy even a single grain of rice, no matter how much you are willing to spend. The Ghost Demon sect attacked the spirit rice warehouse. Zhou Sui was stunned. He had been staying at home all the time and barely went out. He was not very sensitive to what happened outside. He didn't expect that the Ghost Demon sect would actually attack the spirit rice warehouse. Without a doubt, this was a heavy blow to the Immortal Mist sect. After all, the space in a cultivator's storage bag was limited, and it wasn't possible to store all their food in these bags. A large amount of spirit rice and meat was still stored in the warehouses. Normally, these places would be heavily guarded. However, evidently, the spies of the Ghost Demon sect were one step ahead. They somehow bypassed the guards and set a fire to destroy the spirit rice and meat in the warehouse. This led to a drastic decrease in the food stored by the Immortal Mist sect in Misty Cloud City. If they had kept to the rationing, the cultivators in Misty Cloud City could have lasted for over a year. But now, a large amount of spirit rice has been burned, meat has been destroyed, leading to the disappearance of a large amount of food. This would surely lead to a famine in Misty Cloud City, and who knows how many cultivators might starve then. No wonder Qianwei is willing to exchange magic artifacts for food. After all, no matter how precious the magic artifact is, it can't fill your stomach. Now, who knows how many cultivators are in a hurry, wanting to exchange pills, magic artifacts, talismans, etc., for food. I'm sorry, but we don't have much food stored ourselves. If fellow Daoist Qian does have food, I have some talismans that I could trade with you. The price is guaranteed to be cheap. Zhou Sui said without showing any emotions. He did not plan to trade food with him. Admittedly, he had a lot of food on him, and he could seize the opportunity to buy a lot of magic artifacts and pills at low prices. He might even be able to take advantage of this to make a fortune. The problem is, this is too risky. If other cultivators find out he has a lot of food, the threat he might face would probably go beyond mere jealousy and greed. Having been in Misty Cloud City for so many years, he was very familiar with the nature of cultivators. Don't be fooled by the amiable appearances these cultivators put on. As soon as there's a profit to be made, as soon as they can bully the weak, they would likely kill without hesitation and become robbers. A person who possesses an abundance of resources naturally invites murder. This is the life of a cultivator. He can always make money, there's no need to take unnecessary risks at this time and make himself a target. You also don't have any food? Then I'll be taking my leave. Hearing this, Jianwei's face turned pale and he said unhappily. He had originally come here hoping to use his magic tool to exchange food with other cultivators. But this guy actually wanted to use talismans to exchange food with him? Wasn't he just talking nonsense? If they were in the wilderness, talismans might be useful. But while staying in Misty Cloud City, talismans couldn't be used as food. If he really traded all his remaining food, he would probably starve to death. He wasn't stupid enough to do something like that. So, he left without hesitation, going elsewhere to see if he could exchange food with other cultivators who had enough food stored. Fellow Daoist Jian, please take care. Zhou Sui waved his hand, bidding Jianwei goodbye. But he soon realized that it wasn't just Jianwei who had come knocking. His other neighbors, fellow Daoist Zhu, fellow Daoist Sun, fellow Daoist Feng and a dozen others cultivators in the late stage of qi cultivation also came one after another, hoping to trade for food with Zhou Wei. Clearly, these cultivators were also in a food crisis and wanted to seize the opportunity to get a large amount of food. Some even offered the treasures they had been hiding away, such as pill formulas, magic artifacts, pills, secret scripts, and so on. Unfortunately, they were all declined by Zhou Sui, who claimed that even his own home didn't have much food left. The cultivators could only leave disappointed. After all, they couldn't possibly force Zhou Sui, whose side was backed by two cultivators at the 9th layer of qi cultivation, Ji Binjiu and Xia Jinjian. These cultivators had to weigh their own abilities and consider whether it was worth it. Of course, if Zhou Sui was still at the 1st layer of qi cultivation as he was before, he might have been killed by these neighbors who were as fierce as wolves and tigers, and all his food would have been stolen. At this point, no one would consider the feelings of their neighbors. Most importantly, they didn't have deep feelings for each other to begin with, they were just acquaintances, not very familiar.